Why do you think you've done so well and Labour's vote, as you say, has collapsed?
Loss of confidence in the Labour Party. No one knows what the Prime Minister really stands for. A sense that somehow in this very patriotic constituency, the Labour Party doesn't really stand for those values anymore. A sense from working people whose alarm clocks go off at 5 o'clock in the morning that they're paying ever more taxes and they wonder why. But I promise you that the fact there are 750 young men who've illegally crossed the English Channel living in this constituency alone, it's a sense of fairness and what's right and what's wrong, bordering, I would say, even on resentment. And we pick that up very strongly on the doors for people who voted Labour for all of their lives.
What's your reflection of the results across the country, mayoral elections, local government elections and so on?
Well, some near misses in mayoral contests, but in old Labour areas, North Tyneside, Doncaster, we missed out by cigarette paper on both of those. We are smashing into the Labour vote in many parts of the north. Durham tomorrow will be the acid test of how much we've hit into Labour. But Lincolnshire and Staffordshire show you that
the Labour Party is now staring straight into a full-blown crisis after a bruising election defeat, one of the worst it has ever suffered. The shockwaves are rippling through Westminster fast. Things boiled over when Labour Party chair Ellie Reeves appeared on LBC with Nick Ferrari, pressed hard on why voters turned away. She struggled to land an answer. Her line was that people want change, but the change they really wanted was Labour out of office. So where did it all unravel for Labour? Let's unpack it step by step.
Just 6 votes. So that is a serious defeat for Labour. Starmer failing his first electoral test, and elsewhere they are picking up council seats a lot. The Tories down 50 at the moment, so a poor night for them. Labour just about holding, and that seems to be the theme of the night too. They have, however, held on to those mayoralties in Doncaster, North Tyneside and the west of England, despite some really serious opposition from Reform. They are doing very well in second place there and have taken, of course, their first mayoralty. Other patterns we're seeing, apart from the teal tidal wave that we have very much seen tonight, those huge swings to Reform. Fascinating stuff, and you just heard from a very happy Nigel Farage this morning. Reform are taking seats now off both Labour and the Conservatives. They are no longer just the party which is eating into Kemi Badenoch's vote. They are now a headache for both Keir Starmer and Kemi Badenoch. So that is also going to be a real threat to the chances of a majority for any political party at the next election. If the polls continue like this, we are on course for a hung parliament. Of course, it's very early to be making any of these predictions, but it just goes to show exactly what is going to be done here.
A grinning Nigel Farage held 6 fingers up for the camera. Nigel Farage flashed a grin as he raised 6 fingers to the cameras, a playful salute to his party's knife-edge win. 6 votes might sound insignificant, but it was enough for Reform UK to grab the Runcorn and Helsby seat just outside Liverpool, breaking Labour's long-standing grip. Once considered one of Labour's safest strongholds, the seat flipped in a shock result that sent tremors through both major parties. On a night packed with unexpected turns, Reform's victory showed they're no longer just talking loudly, they're emerging as a serious threat to the political establishment. Before we jump back in, are you enjoying the video so far? If you are, take a second to like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe. Now, let's carry on.
An electoral pact, a coalition of some kind. That's very different just for tactical voting, for example.
How do you explain away what's happened? I mean, you can't blame it all on the Conservatives or on Mike Amesbury, the former Labour MP for Runcorn and Helsby, can you? Because even where you've won mayoral elections, you've lost so much support and it's ended up being a pretty tight race. What that seems to indicate is, surely, that the government is not addressing a lot of the issues that ordinary people up and down the country have got concerns about.
When we were elected to government last July, we were elected on a platform of change. And Look, I recognise that people are impatient for change. I'm impatient for that change. The government's impatient for that change. Since coming into government, we have started to deliver on our plan for change. It takes time. NHS waiting lists are down 6 months in a row, but there are still too many people on waiting lists. Take Runcorn, for example. Just last month, we delivered 4 new free breakfast clubs in primary schools. Well, we want to go further and faster. We want every primary school in Runcorn to have a free breakfast club. Just last month, our increase in the national minimum wage means that 3.5 million low-paid...
Most importantly, it was a demonstration that Reform UK isn't just a couple of troublemakers like Keir Starmer wants us to believe. However, the response from Labour spokespeople so far to the loss of Runcorn and Helsby and the election results as a whole has been especially tin-eared. There doesn't seem to be any understanding of the deep-seated emotion in the reaction of Labour supporters to the party's behaviour in government over the past 10 months. What really mattered in the recent election wasn't just the vote totals. It was the message it sent. Reform UK is no longer some fringe protest outfit, no matter how hard Starmer tries to frame them that way. Yet Labour's reaction so far, particularly after the losses in Runcorn and Helsby, has been strangely flat and out of sync. There's been little sign that the party understands the anger and disappointment felt by many lifelong Labour voters after 10 months in power. We talk a lot about emotional intelligence in politics, but right now, what's on display is a pretty stark absence of it.
Lies of the Labour Party, and they've essentially sort of put even deeper into the bin the Tory party, and people are absolutely raging mad about national issues, the 34,000 odd illegals that have crossed the channel since Labour took control, the fact that legal immigration is still completely out of control as well, and people are getting poorer. Net stupid zero is, it's coming to fore, and the unions are now backing reform on net zero. Tony Blair is backing reform on net zero. So look, we're winning all over the place.
We are witnessing the raw tension as voters reject empty slogans and demand real accountability. Frankly, Labour supporters feel deeply that their party has turned its back on them. It's not just that they feel they are not being listened to, it's that the Starmer and Reeves government is doing things that they believe no Labour government should ever do. It is a shock when you think about it, because a few months ago Labour was riding high in the minds of citizens who became irritated with years of Conservative austerity. We're watching something shift in real time. People aren't willing to settle for hollow promises anymore. They want straight answers. They want to feel heard. For many lifelong Labour supporters, there's a real sense of betrayal creeping in. It's not only that their concerns feel brushed aside, it's that the government under Starmer and Reeves is taking decisions they never imagined coming from Labour leadership. Decisions that seem miles away from what the party is supposed to represent. Not long ago, Labour looked like a symbol of hope after years of Conservative austerity. Now, for many, this government barely feels like Labour at all. And this isn't about old Labour versus new Labour. It's about whether it can still be called Labour in any meaningful way.
The North is not something to be optimistic about. It's been a disaster. And the reason this has happened, I think the umbilical cord between the Labour Party and its traditional vote was severed when we came out for a second referendum back in 2016-17, which I think we probably discussed at the time. Secondly,
before now, the strategy dictated by Starmer's office appears to be that, to neutralise reform, Labour planned to position itself as close to Nigel Farage's party as possible. The argument is that this will give Labour the breathing space of the next few years to deliver the investment and noticeable improvement in our public services that will garner the support needed to win the next election. Labour's approach under Starmer seems to have been to blunt Reform UK by drifting closer to Farage's positions, especially on immigration. The plan was to copy reform just enough to buy time, then rely on growth and small tax changes to fund public services. But voters weren't convinced. When Labour imitates reform, many simply choose the real thing, while traditional Labour supporters felt alienated by the rightward shift. Growth never arrived, fiscal rules boxed the party in, and cuts to things like winter fuel support, national insurance, and disability benefits hit the very people Labour claims to defend. With internal dissent shut down and MPs afraid to speak out, the party now looks directionless, trying to outdo reform while losing its own moral footing. But to do that, Labour needs to reconnect with its grassroots and stop alienating supporters all over again. A clear first move would be dropping the proposed cuts to disability benefits and actually listening to voters. Labour's poor showing in Thursday's elections didn't come out of nowhere. It's been building for a long time, with multi-party politics now firmly part of the UK landscape. This could mark the start of a bigger shift. After the defeat, Prime Minister Starmer blamed Nigel Farage for offering simple answers and vowed to push harder for change, insisting he won't make excuses. Farage, meanwhile, is celebrating. Reform now leads 10 councils, is the largest party in 4 more, and has new mayors in Greater Lincolnshire, Hull and East Yorkshire. The real question is what they'll do with that power. Farage has floated a UK version of Trump's Doge, a government efficiency unit focused on cutting spending. After Reform's Durham win, he warned council staff to rethink roles tied to climate work or remote jobs. His message is clear: cut waste, shrink government, and focus on basics like social care and potholes. Asked about Reform's lack of experience, Deputy Leader Richard Tye called it a strength. Mistakes may happen, he said, but voters can expect honesty and a fresh, common-sense approach.
He reiterates his vow to go further and faster to make change happen, and says he won't make the same old excuses for Labour's losses. But Nigel Farage is having the time of his life at the moment, as his party is now in charge in 10 areas, and there are a further 4 where it is the largest party. The party also has 2 new mayors in Greater Lincolnshire and Hull and East Yorkshire. But having fought a successful campaign, Nigel Farage's party now has to show what it will do with its new power. Farage himself said he wants something similar to Doge, which is a department for government efficiency set up by US President Donald Trump and his advisor, the tech billionaire Elon Musk, to slash government spending. Speaking to journalists as his party stormed to victory in Durham, Farage set out what that was likely to mean in reform-led councils across the country. "I think you all better really be seeking alternative careers," he warned council staff who were working on climate change initiatives, or diversity, equality and inclusion, or opting to work from home. He added, "We want to give council taxpayers better value for money, reduce excessive expenditure, find out who long-term contracts are with, reduce the scale of local government back to what it ought to be, providing social care, providing SEN needs for kids, mending potholes." Responding to the criticism that most Reform councillors are inexperienced, Reform's deputy leader Richard Tice says that will be an advantage. Tice admitted there would need to be a learning process, and it would be...
At the end of the day, Reform UK's showing in the election delivers a blunt message to Labour. Things clearly haven't gone to plan since they took control in Westminster. If Labour wants to avoid another very public leadership wobble, it needs to stop sneering at Reform and its voters and start listening to what people are actually saying. And if you're enjoying this political rollercoaster, don't forget to like the video and hit subscribe for more sharp takes and fresh perspectives.